Welcome to the PokerStars Arena and the penultimate day of the Blowout Series. The last of the big blowouts is playing down to the final table tonight. Meanwhile, the last high roller event is playing down to a winner. A lineup of poker superstars competing for a first prize of nearly 220K. Hello everyone, it's James Hartigan alongside Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my blowout babies.
Well, Joe, it's been the better part of a week since we streamed some blowout action. So let's check in with the story of the series so far. The headline, Blowout Series stacks, 255 games in the books. Entries totaling nearly 2 million. Total series prize pool of more than 81.6 million. And first place payout so far, 9.95 million. That number's going to cross the 10 million mark tonight once we've crowned a winner in the 5K high roller, which has a first prize of $219,546. Six-figure scores for the top three. Everyone has locked up $26,713, and 9 players remain from the starting field of 225. All the usual suspects in attendance. Players like Sam Greenwood, Tuan Mulder, Mikita Bodzikowski. Dingebrinker holds the chip lead just ahead of Connor Beresford. And coming into the final table, third in chips, is Mr. Lex Veldhuis. Well, Lex, congratulations and good luck tonight. You've already had a few big results in this series. The Blowout Series has been good to you, right?
Yeah, it's been all right. Like I had a fantastic weekend where I had some really big scores, and I got second for 50K and had some other scores at the weekend, which was good because the rest has been pretty flat. And yeah, I had a pretty bad stretch in the middle, but it's such a good feeling having a big score at the start, because then afterwards, like, okay, you know, now we can grind very relaxed and we can just see what happens. And I was having a good series, especially because I'm super happy with my play. I've been studying a lot. I've been trying to improve a lot, really working hard on my game. And now this feels like kind of like the cherry on top, this really unexpected, insane field with an insane final table that I have a good stack at. So,
yeah, I mean, a big opportunity, but also a huge challenge, right? Tough lineup.
I mean, these are the best of the best. I say this all the time on my stream, but I have no business playing these tournaments if I wasn't streaming. I am not good enough to play this field. So to be at this final table, to play against these sickos, you know, it's a great challenge, but one I'm ready for. I mean, you know, even if I wouldn't register this tournament normally, if I wasn't streaming, and, you know, I kind of look at it as almost like a tuition fee at the same time. So I can put something awesome on screen. I can pay a little bit of a tuition fee to learn from them, but I can most definitely put a dent in a tournament like this and put them in bad spots as well. So that's what we're going to try and do. But there's going to be a lot of pushback. And I mean, every single name at the final table is a known name. So it should be quite some fireworks.
But that's not even the only tournament you're playing today, right? You're still also in the 1K?
Yeah, so, you know, last week I made day 2 with a massive stack in the 500 blowout, 5 million guaranteed, and now it's in the 1K, so that's really awesome. So, you know, whatever happens in that final table, I have 110 big blinds in the big one, in the 1K, so that could be an even bigger spot. So this is a very fortunate situation to find yourself in on Monday after a big series.
If you win both of these tournaments, will you build yourself another new house?
I will gladly never go through that process again. Maybe I'll get like a nice little painting for the studio or something. I don't know.
I bet you're so glad that Joe reminded you about that experience. Lex, good luck at all of the tables you're playing this evening.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Enjoy the show.
Obviously, you can watch the action from Lex's perspective on his Twitch channel. Meanwhile, we will show you every single hand from the final table cards up. And joining us in the arena to analyze the action is Maria Ho. Maria, are you excited for this final table?
I am so dang hyped. It's not just the big cup of coffee I had. It's literally because this is going to be an epic final.
Yeah, we've touched on the fact that this is an awesome lineup as we get the cards in the air at the 2550 blind level. Of the 9 players at this final table, 4 of them have won the Sunday Million, and another 3 have top 3 finishes in Sunday Millions, and that's not to mention all of the SCOOP and WCOOP titles they have between them as well. Some genuine online legends in action.
Yeah, I mean, even with all this money up top, I feel like none of these players are going to be phased. They know how to close these out.
Joe, I kind of feel that we need to do the all-important PSA. There is a 30-minute delay on the action we are watching. Now, we've referenced the fact that Lex is streaming on his own channel, and obviously Lex normally runs with a 5 to 6 minute delay. So we know that there's going to be a cross-pollination of viewers, people who are keeping tabs on what Lex is doing, and then coming here to watch the action with all the cards revealed a bit later on. Guys, please, please, please do not ruin it for everyone else by posting spoilers in the chat or in the comments on YouTube. Please, let's just enjoy it as if we're all seeing this for the first time, which most of us are. And that includes even what I like to call non-spoiler spoilers, like, oh, you're not going to believe this hand, or wait till you see what happens next. The ban hammer will be brought into effect. Raksha, Tom, they're on it. Joe's on it. We will make sure that you are never, ever able to say anything ever again.
I'm gonna take it one step further. No ins and outs. No insies, outies. You know, like when you go to the bar and it's real crowded. You leave, you're gone. Not taking any chances.
No hand stamp available.
No hand stamp.
All right. Well, I'm going to be here for a while, so.
Well, this is not the greatest board in the world for a pair of fours and a pair of deuces. Somehow fours are still the best hand. And it is Mikita Bodzikovsky.
How happy are you when fours are good here?
Especially to get to showdown without having to put more chips in. That would be the best part.
Snapfold.
So blind levels are now 25 minutes and will stay at 25 minutes for the rest of the final table. We've now gone to the 30-60 blind level. And deuces again, this time for Connor Beresford in the big blind. But it's Dingebrinker, the chip leader, who's first to act here, opening with ace-king.
You know, I don't find dinge-brinking very amusing. I don't think it's cool that they're making light of people who dinge-brink. My dad was a dinge-brinker. And
this is the biggest and the second biggest stack in action here. And Connor has not connected with this board. Meanwhile, it's top for the chip leader.
Yeah, likely just going to be a bet and take it scenario here. Pretty hard to continue with the deuces. Can I just mention, by the way, that I love Lex and I just really enjoyed his humility in that interview where he was saying, you know, he doesn't really think that he has any business playing in these high rollers. And if it wasn't for the stream, he wouldn't be registering these. I mean, obviously Lex is really, really good, but I feel like it's a fine line between, you know, being overconfident, but still having the humility to know sometimes that you might be outclassed.
It was a shocking amount of humility.
King Jack into jacks.
A shocking amount of humility from Lex, given what he says when the cameras aren't rolling.
Well, Lex has been 3-bet here. Opens with Kojak. Hello, Totty. Re-raises, and Lex is forced to fold. Another player I want to highlight at this final table, I mean, everyone is worth highlighting, obviously, but Bankroller, who is the shortest stack coming into play, has already won 2 titles during the Blowout Series. Yes, They are the short stack. Yes, they have some work to do tonight to potentially make it number 3, but we've said it before, we'll say it again, never underestimate the power of the Capvitar.
Hello, Toddy. Hello, top pair.
No major confrontations just yet. Ace-4 suited for the short stack. And it's an all-in. Does not get any action. And now pocket nines with 10 big blinds under the gun.
Oh, boy.
All in again. Well, I'm looking at
Yeah.
a Ponakov's hand, Maria. Is this a call with ace-jack? No.
Yeah, I definitely think that given how much that represents of a Ponakov's stack size to call off, and considering there would have been one more person to act behind in the big blind, I think that I like that fold.
Is it true we don't know who A. Ponakov is?
We do know who A. Ponakov is. That is Alexei Ponakovs. It's literally his name.
I don't know. It seems too obvious. I would double check that.
Well, it's Dingebrink who's opened here with Queen 7. Ponakov with ace-jack for the second hand in a row. Flats on the button. Bankroll of the short stack. 10-7 of diamonds in the big.
Yeah, definitely a looser open coming from coming from Dingebrinker there, but understandable given the fact that they do have the biggest stack at this final, but it's going to be tough to do much here against this jam.
It's the stop and go, Maria. Haven't seen that for a while.
But all the equity in the world to do it with.
So ace-king for the... It was almost a double up and now has more than $1 million, and pressure now on Sam Greenwood, who is the short stack with 400k, ace-king.
Pretty nice hand to wake up with, though, under that pressure.
Yeah.
Snap fold from the ace tray also.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot, you know, at final tables with the ICM considerations, how important it is to maintain your chip position, especially if you're in those middling spots. You can't be risking 30, 40% of your stack to take the chance to eliminate somebody when it could potentially cause you to be the shortest stack if you were to double them up.
It's great when you call the ace tray there and you're ahead. You're like, I'm 50.5%. Yes.
Well, Lex tried to see a cheap flop from the small blind, but Blodzikovski's got ace-queen and has raised it to 210,000. Lex calls, and because it is always coming 7, flops top pair.
Can you be really comfortable with a pair of 7s here against the big blind?
I mean, there's a part of the big blind's raising range pre-flop that, you know, definitely has a pair of 7s beat. But of course, you know, as Lex, you can't feel that comfortable. You probably just want to get to showdown. As you see, you know, Lex is not going to try to put out a bet of any kind, try to protect it. It's really just about getting to a cheap showdown.
Ugh.
Well, let's see if this gets checked to showdown and if Lex is going to ship this pot of nearly 500k. Sure enough. I've got the final numbers, by the way, on the final big blowout. Registration closed just before it restarted for day 2. Nearly 7,000 entries, 6,922. So that's a prize pool of 6.9 million. First place, close to $1 million, $983,000, the first prize in that 1K event.
Do you guys want to take up a collection? Get it up to $1 million?
In a word, no. What I will do is allow them to play down to a final table tonight and stream the final table tomorrow.
So nice of you to allow that.
So Blodzikovski versus Hello Totti. And 10 high is ahead here.
Yeah, Makita decided to raise from the small blind with this particular hand. You know, you might see some limps coming from people with that sort of hand, but he decided to take the aggressive route here.
Paul Moore asks, introduce players, please. Paul, these players all know each other already. We don't have to introduce them. Thank you for your comment.
And we've got jacks for the short stack, straight dollar homie. That is Sam Greenwood. A player with multiple WCOOP and SCOOP titles. He is all in. Plus, of course, Sam has tens of millions of dollars in live earnings as well. Into the blinds and antes uncontested. The jacks going around the table, and jacks for Lex Veldhuis. Ace king suited for Dingebrinker, the table chip leader. And Lex just flatting.
Oh.
Yeah, and the flat here is just simply because, you know, you don't want to tangle with the biggest stack when you have such a good stack yourself. And they did open from under the gun, so they're not going to be too wide from that position.
And it's a king high flop. It's top for Dingebrinker. Lex's avatar, appropriate.
Are you sure? That looks kind of like a happy face to me.
How is that happy? That's a man in pain. That's a man who is suffering.
I don't know about that.
The tears, like waterfalls, bursting from his eyes.
Considering this flop went checked, I'm just not sure that Lex can get away from it right here. He definitely has to call one and decide on the river. Obviously, Dingebrinker going to go for another value bet here.
Damn, with space.
Sometimes
Looks
your
like
opponent
he might be doing something else. Go on.
I was just going to say, sometimes your opponent might have that flush draw and have played it this way by checking back the flop and calling the turn, but I think your hand's still too good to not go for value. Lex probably a little perplexed because Dingebrinker did check that flop, but that is a good laydown. Pretty much lost the minimum.
Yeah, meanwhile, Dingebrinker closing in on the 5 million mark, still chip leader with all 9 players remaining at this final table. So just to recap where we're at in this event, it started yesterday. It is the 5K high roller. It was a side event to close out the Blowout Series. 225 entries, prize pool of 1.125. That's exceeding the guarantee of 1 million. Played down to the final table last night, and now the last 9 have come back to play down to a winner tonight. And we'll see every hand from this final table cards up. Five, 6, 7, 8. My root tooting baby is driving me. It's a flip.
Dingebrinker maybe considering just putting a bet out there and going with it, but does end up going
The thick
check.
plottins.
Yes, John Delano, monster draw.
That's right. And the flush draw. There it is.
So Dingebrinker up over 5 million now. Paul Moore says, James, who are the players? If you look below their cards, Paul, their names appear just above their chip stacks.
Thank you for your question. All right, guys, look, we got... Go on.
I was going to say, Fish 2013. This is Mikita Bodzikovsky. Clearly a very talented pro with huge results both live and online. $28.4 million in live earnings. Has cashed in 21 EPTs. and has big cashes in scoops and WCOOPs. Won an EPT online event towards the tail end of 2020, took down the 10K high roller. Now, Ponikov, you were asking about Alexei Ponikov, right, Joe? This is someone whose name has not really been on my radar. They are a Sunday Million champion. Alexei won in October 2017, and that was worth 158K.
So there's no like qualifiers with double-digit results here?
No qualifiers here. These are all 5K regs. And Lex Veldhuis.
It's just so weird because this guy's not a fish at all. So it's kind of strange that he would choose that name, I think.
Seven-six off for Connor Beresford.
Sam Greenwood, you know, under most circumstances has a hand in this spot that you can just go with. I feel like there are some players that might take a conservative route even as the shortest stack and may not jam that, but I do like to see the jam coming from Greenwood.
So we've got ace-6 on the button, ace-3 in the big blind, Ponikov raising. And bankroller, who we've established, is Yanki Vecino, a two-time Blowout Series winner, going for title number 3 tonight.
I love that name, Yanki. Let's go, Yonks.
Yeah, this will signify about 30% of a Ponikov's stack to call off. And, you know, you'd probably prefer to call off there with a suited Broadway than an ace rag.
Or even sourdough. Ace-6. Hey, that's new.
Bucket and spade. I haven't seen that one before.
I like that one.
Not enough feces in it, really.
Sorry? What beaches
Well,
have
you've
you
got
been
the
walking
toilet
on recently?
paper. You got the toilet paper full of feces. Then you've got the beehive full of feces. Then you've got the firework. That's completely full of feces. It's weird that they just did sand for one of them.
The raise from Dingebrinker. And Mikita Bodzikovsky, 10-3 of diamonds.
How are you ever
Defends.
supposed to beat these guys if they're going to defend 10-3 suited? You just have no chance.
Shockingly, 10-3 is still behind to King Jack. Now it's Connor Beresford under the gun. Sam Greenwood still the short stack at the table with 894K, but has more than 10 bigs right now. Alex in action, opening on the button with Ace Jack. And it is an ace high flop, and Lex's kicker is good here.
Yeah, this will spell trouble for Hello Tati. It's pretty hard to get away from top pair in this scenario when you're facing a button opening range. But that run out might just save Hello Tati a little bit of chips because you saw Lex check behind on the turn when the 5s paired. And now with the 6 paired, I don't see Lex necessarily, raising. If Hello Toddy decides to bet for value here, Lex would just call.
Well, it's nearly 350,000 a call from Lex, and he's up to nearly 4 million. He's second in chips behind Dingebrinker.
James, is there any way this tournament's over in real time?
I mean, it could be. Unlikely.
Because NQ says Lex wins this tournament, mark my words, and it kind of sounds exactly like what we said not to do.
Right, I see.
That's your one. I'm talking to all of you collectively. That's your one.
I mean,
okay,
it would be slightly extraordinary to lose 8 players in the next 30 minutes, but improbable, if not impossible.
Wow. James is saying Lex isn't extraordinary.
Stapes is just a little power hungry right now, and he's really dying to use the banhammer. I feel like people have been really respectful so far. I haven't seen any spoilers.
I'm just trying to train them for later, where they might be more tempted, to let them know it's Iron Fist time.
Oh no!
And by that I mean I need to go
awful.
watch Iron Fist. Yeah, no, I got
that was
go
such
watch it on my break.
Awful show. I mean, those Marvel shows on Netflix just started off okay, but just got worse as they went on. And Iron Fist was practically unwatchable.
I was dating a girl who wrote for that show at the time, and when I saw it, I broke up with her.
I think I'll allow it.
Yeah, I tried to watch a preview for that WandaVision show, and I didn't quite get it.
Oh, see, I like WandaVision.
WandaVision,
yeah.
Oh, I haven't started watching it, so.
I agree. The trailer, you're like, what? But actually, the show itself is decent.
Greenwood finding a spot to jam here against the button open. And yeah, again, 9-8 suited. You put in 2 big blinds, you're facing an 11, 12 big blind jam, but you also know how much of your stack it is going to take to call it off there. But you're like, I know this is going to play okay, probably post, but it's just not good enough.
Blind v blind. Dingebrinker versus Alexei Ponakovs. And that is another pot for the chip leader. Dingebrinker up over 5.3 million now. Blinds up in 3 minutes' time.
James and I are going to do a big old chat about movies and TV shows on the podcast in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
What's on the list?
WandaVision.
I mean, obviously, it won't be a complete review because WandaVision will still be ongoing because it's one of those shows where they release new episodes weekly. But we've got the tail end of Mandalorian Season 2. Both of us saw Wonder Woman 84 recently. I'm not going to say anything about it now because I want to save it. We're going to have a detailed, in-depth conversation about this. What else do we have? Oh, Tenet. We're finally going to see Tenet, right?
Yeah, I still haven't been able to bring myself to watch it. I was suggested last night, and I was like, I'm still not ready. But I will. Started watching Larry Sanders.
That's for a superfan quiz, though. That's not a recent TV show or movie that we're going to be discussing.
True.
Conor Beresford is open with Jack 8 and been 3-bet by the chip leader with Ace Jack. Domination Nation is the order of the day.
Death to 2020.
Yeah, I saw that
just
just
watched that over the
before
weekend.
Christmas. Yeah.
So instead of a book club, you guys have like a TV series and movie club where you guys plan to watch certain things so you could talk about it later.
Kind of, but I think
Pretty
we're going to do
much.
some books in the coming weeks, too.
Yeah, and also as far as like doing a book club is concerned, we were tipped off by Lance Bradley to the existence of a poker movie that I hadn't heard of, Joe, which is brand new, right? What's it called? Dan's Game?
Dan's. Oh, wait a minute. Is it not a poker movie and he's doing a bit? Isn't Dan's Game like a Stephen King movie? That's Gerald's
No.
game.
This is legitimately a poker movie that's got a really low rating on IMDb. So we are definitely going to get everyone to watch that one and force them to share the experience. We've got Queens here for Bankroller.
I feel like the title already gives it away that it's not going to be a good movie. It's like, couldn't you have come up with a better title than Dan's Game? Seems like they didn't put a lot of effort in there.
Oh, Lex has got the snowmans.
Nom 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 nom.
I know.
You know what? I do need to just double check that I'm not just making stuff up now.
I don't think it's called Dan's Game. I can't find any record of a Dan's Game on the internet.
Or you're getting your leg pulled, James.
I'm now going to have to find Lance Bradley's tweet.
Ah, boy. That was a huge double up for Hello Coffee.
Unlucky, Lex. Danny's Game. About a character called Danny Bishop who is a gambling prodigy.
Ah. I'm sure they know.
Okay. Let's see if Lex can get some chips back here. Wins a small pot, but still hovering around the 3 million mark. Pocket fives for Dingebrinker. Deuces folded. Threes for Lex.
Dingebrinker with the range advantage here, obviously, for their exact hand, not a great flop. If you think Lex is going to be checking back here, you know, with hands like nines and tens on the flop and hands that he would have flatted pre as well, then, you know, obviously with the fives here, it's not really the time to start betting. Now this is interesting because after Lex checks back on the turn, then, you know, you might be thinking I could get some value from ace highs, but both players happy to get to showdown there.
Pocket B's for Connor B. And limps in on the button. Maybe wants to get a little jam here from Sam Greenwood. Not going to happen.
Yeah, and last time the limp from Connor on the button did get a jam out of Sam with the deuces. But yeah, I think 6-5 suited here is just one that you're happy to complete.
Nom 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 nom.
Eights for Connor Beresford. Cracked by the King 4 that somehow made two pair.
Oh, there's some light.
Yeah, interesting turn for Greenwood with the open-ended straight draw now.
What point do
I
you
think
start
given the-
raising with 2-pair?
I would say now, because, you know, the board is getting pretty coordinated there with the flush draw possible, the straight draw possible from the flop and the turn.
Uh-huh.
315,000, which may get rid of Connor with his 8s. And it's a really tough spot for Sam Greenwood, who can't call, does not have the stack to play too speculatively, and that will see Dingebrinker move up to nearly 6.2 million. And we have a battle of the blinds here, the chip leader versus Alexei Ponokov's.
Maria, how big does your stack have to get here before you can start to feel the power coursing through your veins? Are we approaching that for Dingebrinker?
I mean, Dingebrinker definitely has to be feeling pretty good right now, but you always have to remember to not overpace yourself when you're in the chip lead, because yes, it's important to continue to, you know, put all of the other players under significant pressure, but you don't want to get a little too overexcited early.
In the big blind here.
Not against these folks. There's no bullying this table at any point.
Okay, we've got domination rotation here. Pair of deuces for Mulder, who you may remember if we rewind 4 weeks ago. Tuan Mulder won the first Blowout Series event that we streamed, the first 5K high roller, took that down for more than $211,000. Facing a continuation bet of 100K, had a phenomenal 2020, third place finish in the WCOOP main event, won a SCOOP, won a Stadium Series event, and check raises here to 315,000. Still has the advantage.
And Hello Toddy just had, you know, too good of a hand on the flop to fold just because of all of those backdoor possibilities. And now, you know, it's very tough for Tino Mulder to know how to continue after the check raise gets called. You have less than pot back with bottom pair.
$250K and a fold from Mulder. Had no way of knowing that he was actually better than a 9-1 favorite with 1 card to come.
2 stacks below $1 million now.
Meanwhile, ace-jack for the chip leader. 140,000. We are playing 35-70K blinds. So bankroller, not the shortest stack, but on the short side. Ace-6 suited in the big blind.
Yeah, this is a situation where you can't really blame bankroller for jamming here. But, you know, you are against the cutoff open. You know that there's a 2 shorter stacks than you, but feels like the right thing to do.
Go. Domination Nation, and that is Broadway for Dingebrinker. The chip leader now has more than 7.5 million as bankroller becomes the first player eliminated from this final table, cashing for $26,713. We are down to 8. And Tuan Mulder has ace-queen suited on the button.
That's funny.
Raised to 140K.
Tino just raising. Yeah, hoping to induce so that they could call it off, but Nobody had a hand good enough to do that.
Yeah, what's going on? What's happened to the Capvitar? Maybe 2021 is not the year of the Capvitar.
It's the year of Romania.
Finally. This is going to be raise and take it for Dingebrinker, up to nearly 8 million now. Such a strong chip lead, but ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in for the sickest and classicest of all races. Mikita Bodziakowski has queens, Connor Beresford has ace-king. And this is awesome sauce for Tuan Mulder and Sam Greenwood, who potentially get to ladder another spot if Bodziakowski gets cracked here. The opening raise to 140,000, the shove from Beresford. Bodziakowski calls it off, and it's an ace-high flop. No queen on the turn or river, and we lose Fish 2013. Mikita Bodziakowski cashes out in 8th place for just shy of $33,000. Connor Beresford up over 5 million, and a great laddering spot again for Greenwood and Mulder.
Hell yeah.
I mean, we all know that Connor Beresford is a sicko, but you do have to flip well in these situations if you want to have those deep runs and big scores.
So everyone now guaranteed 43K, six-figure scores for the top three with nearly 220 grand up top.
It's crazy to me that 9 people made it to this final table without losing an all-in flip. Like, how's that even possible? 9 people didn't lose flips when they were all in? Ever?
I don't know about ever, but in this particular tournament.
I mean, in this tournament life.
So Beresford behind with Sam Greenwood pairing his queen on the flop. This goes to the river, and it's inconsequential, but nonetheless, a welcome appearance for Mr. Barry Greenstein.
It's a good way to describe Barry. Inconsequential, but welcome.
Aww. I still have that awful vision in my head of Barry walking around with his bathrobe and it occasionally floating open.
Oh, not occasionally. Just never closed.
Oh. Yeah, I'll stick with my flaming Barrys rather than my naked Barrys. Thank you very much.
Connor going for a bit of a thin value bet. I don't think that this is going to get past Sam Greenwood. I feel like it's just a situation where Sam is probably going to call, considering the way the hand was played, you know, checked behind all the way through on the flop and on the turn.
Good call from Greenwood, who's moved up over $1 million, leaving Tuan Mulder as the shortest stack at the table, but he's picked up the pocket rockets, has aces under the gun.
Do you know? Ooh, a nice jack. People
Yeah,
seem to get away from
interesting
ace jack
spot.
sometimes.
Definitely, but if you think Tino Mulder has a few lighter opens here from under the gun, then you might consider going with it, but it does look a little suspicious.
And now Mulder with sevens in the big blind. Let's see if this gets folded to Ponakov's in the small blind. Conor Beresford here with Queen 9. Opens to 154k. And the shove from Mulder. I know we joke about Conor flipping well, but no. Just no.
You have to know you're flipping.
Oh, I get it. That's the punting throwable. Except it goes through the upright, so it's actually a field goal.
It's a field goal. Maybe we should just change what we call it in poker. Oh, can you believe he field goaled his entire stack?
I love it. I think that one's going to catch on right away.
So we had to change the expression to fit the graphic. That's how things work around these parts. Well, would you look at this? Artisanal sourdough continues to hold the power.
Nice catch, John.
The power of the flour. Pocket threes for the chip leader.
And it's going to be contending with the other big stack in the big blind.
And so far, just a really smooth final table for the chip leader. It's kind of what you dream of when you have a good stack coming in. You want to be able to continue to accumulate without getting into any huge confrontations unnecessarily. And that's what Dinge Brinker has been able to do.
Ace-4 button raise.
Running into regular old store-bought sourdough. Can't do it.
No, you can't.
Conor Beresford, Queen 6 suited. Limps the button.
Done a lot of limping today. Oh man, what a flop.
Yeah, really balancing their
Success.
limping range.
What's the long game in doing that?
I mean, obviously, a part of the reason why Connor has found so many limps on the button is because of the stack size of Sam Greenwood in the small blind. So, you know, obviously having some traps like with the pocket pair there where they were hoping maybe Sam would shove, but then also having hands that play well post-flop in position. You kind of ensure that you get to see flops pretty cheaply, but you also want to induce somebody with a 10 to 15 big blind stack to shove as well, where you have a hand where you can actually call off.
And take it for Tino. Jack 10 suited for Sam Greenwood. really do hate to see it, don't you? Pocket fives for Dingebrinker. Decides to put Sam to the test, who has to let it go. Pocket queens for Ponnikov. Will Connor B? Nope. Ponnikov on the button. Tino with ace-5 in the small. Lex also with a pair.
Yeah, interesting to see the dynamic of this one. There's the button raise. Well, if Mulder gets frisky with sourdough, it might save Lex from doing some cash here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a spot, you know, if Tino does fold, normally I think Lex can find a profitable shove. Okay, well, in normal circumstances, Lex could find a profitable shove there, but with the ICM considerations, I feel like Lex would have just called. But now that Tino does indeed 3-bet, it's going to be an easy fold for Lex.
Let these two go to war. No problemo. Have at it. Pretty heartbreaking, a 3-bet fold. 30 or stack here.
All in
Later.
and a fold. So, I mean, Sam Greenwood and Mulder. Okay, I was wondering how long it would be before someone threw poo at someone else. Greenwood and Mulder pretty much tied for bottom place right now. Both edging into the danger zone.
Danger zone.
And neither of those two players will want to hear this. In 4 minutes' time, the blinds go to 40-80.
Sneaky little limp from Hello Toddy from the small blind with ace queen. You know, maybe Connor has a bit of a reputation for being aggressive in these spots.
Hell yeah. Hello, Trappy. Oh, that's the hard part, right? That's the hard part of trapping with ace queen there. You gotta, you know, make a pair. At least Connor didn't hit a jack or a 6.
Yeah, but I think having the ace of diamonds here makes it an easy peel. You just have to continue and hope that you turn some back doors, potentially, you know, turn one of your overcards.
Hot toddy.
Well, ace high still good.
Connor B can't be crazy about showing down jack high.
Yeah, and you know, Connor knows that Hello Toddy probably doesn't have a 10x type hand now, because that hand would have probably gone for a bet on the river instead of trying to trap by checking.
Pocket nines for the chip leader, and Dingebrinker opens to 140k.
And now I'm craving a hot pocket, so thanks, Joe.
Unfortunately, they're impossible to find.
Ooh, no, I actually got some 2 weeks ago, but they were gone like that.
Well, we've reached the first break of the day in the 5K high roller. Obviously, the Blowout Series has now been running for over 3 weeks, and we last streamed on Tuesday. In the last 7 days, let's run through some of the players who've become Blowout Series champions, some of them 2-time champions. Yankee Vicino, who we saw go out from this final table earlier, went out in 9th place. Vicino won his 2nd Blowout Series title last week in the 4max Turbo. Sham Srinivasan took down the 6+ Hold'em event, and Olashemian won his 2nd Blowout Series title in the 2K PKO event for nearly 115k. Christopher Frank took down the 1K PLO 6max. Ali Shaban, Prince Pablo himself, won the mini version of the Sunday Cooldown, and the $215 version of the Sunday Cooldown was won by Jamil Wakil, another 2-time Blowout Series champ. So we're going to see a couple of winners over the next 2 days. We're going to crown a champion tonight in this high roller. We are also going to crown a winner tomorrow in the 1K big blowouts. So the big blowouts have been the marquee events of this series. $5 million guaranteed. The first event was a 109, then it went up to 215. Last week was a 530. $1,050 a buy-in this week. And just to recap the headline stats, nearly 7,000 entries, 6,922. Prize pool of $6.9 million. They're down to 1,300 players. They're going to play down to the final table tonight, and we'll stream the final table tomorrow. Maria, obviously, we're streaming the final table of the high roller right now. Dingebrinker has the chip lead, had a phenomenal session there, and has got their stack up to nearly 8 million. Would you expect, especially when we have a couple of short stacks, would you expect them to kind of up the aggression as we move up a couple of blind levels, maybe, to really pile on the pressure and leverage those ICM handcuffs that some of the other players, like Connor Beresford, are going to be feeling right now?
Yeah, I think we could definitely expect to see Dingebrinker up the aggression. The only thing standing in Dingebrinker's way is the fact that Connor Beresford does have some chips now, so Connor's actually finding some of these wide open spots before it's Dingebrinker's turn, so thus kind of stopping him from having those spots as well. But either way, I think that things will kind of quicken with the pace coming up in this next bit.
Joe, I'm sure the name Dingebrinker leaps out at you, but I'm going to imagine that you can't remember where you've seen it before.
No, I've seen it on PokerStars, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, obviously. Specifically, WCOOP, which we covered last year, the 2020 edition of the World Championship of Online Poker. Dingebrinker won event number 4, the high buy-in version. That was the 2K No Limit Hold'em for nearly 100k. Also had a Turbo Series win last year. Also won the Super Tuesday last year. Came 6th in a SCOOP event. Has won a Blowout Series event as well. So clearly a player who is in form. But that said, there are no easy spots at this table. We established already this is a pretty strong lineup in this event.
Yeah, there are no easy spots. And also, you know, even though these folks do care about ICM and no one's just going to throw money away, they're also fearless at the same time. So I don't think you're going to be able to, you know, if there's 2 even stacks, of course, you know, they're both short. You can kind of have your way with them a little bit. But in general, you know, these players are playing 5Ks a few times a week or whenever they come up. So I don't think you can necessarily work them the same way you could someone who maybe satellited in.
Yeah, well, let's give Joe a little break from the booth for the next 60 minutes as we return to the action in the Blowout Series 5K high roller with 7 players remaining. Dingebrinker has 116 big blinds, more than 8 million chips. Both Mulder and Greenwood have sub 15 big blind stacks. Lex hovering around the 32 big blind mark, not overly comfortable, but by no means in the danger zone. And a quick reminder to those of you who are trying to keep one eye on Lex's stream, please keep spoilers out of the chat. Lex is only running on a 5 to 6 minute delay. We're on a 30-minute delay showing all the whole cards of all the players as we return to the action to watch these guys play for a first prize of nearly 220k. And first hand back from break, Maria, Sam Greenwood's got kings.
Yeah, surprising, especially with both of the other kings out as well.
And Conor Beresford, 4 deuce of strawberries, folds the button. So how to play this? Is it the limp re-raise trap? Do you just open shove here to make your hand look weaker than it is? Okay, it's the limp.
I definitely like this the best. I think that even though Dingebrinker does have the chip lead, they're still going to be calling correctly against a small blind shoving range with that stack size. But now this way, you get Dingebrinker putting in a raise. Could Greenwood just peel, though, is the question. If you believe that Dingebrinker has enough raise folds here, maybe you don't want to lose him quite yet. Kings is just so strong, but you don't like seeing that ace.
Always an ace on the desk.
And as Dingebrinker, if you are going to open from the big blind, you have to rep the ace high board, surely.
$84K into $425K. And Greenwood makes the call and picks up the club draw on the turn. Now, we can see, Maria, that Sam Greenwood has a lock on this and that Dingebrinker is drawing dead, but that doesn't mean that Dingebrinker might not keep up the aggression here and might not try and push Sam off this hand.
Yeah, the only thing is Dingebrinker knows that there's not a lot of hands Sam would play this way, you know, limp calling a raise pre, calling that type of flop texture post. So Dingebrinker does recognize that Sam will have some big hands that they were trying to trap pre with.
Well, Sam calls and now has the nuts. $943K in the middle, and Sam has half pot behind. And this is a case of wave the white flag or go for it, and he does go for it. Sam snap calls all in, gets the full double up through Dingebrinker. 1.8 million now for Greenwood, and blinds up to 40-80. So Sam keeping his head above water. Tu and Mulder very much the short stack right now.
Sam, obviously somebody that you don't want to double up. Just a tremendous talent.
Raise and take it for Conor Beresford. Let's go three-way again. Let's bring Nick Walsh into the arena and add his expertise to the conversation. How are you, Nicholas?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys tonight?
We are good.
Good.
I know you were very excited about this final table from the off, Nick, and obviously we're excited that Lex is making a deep run in the top 7 here. But we should say this is not just all about Lex. Some other phenomenal players in action here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've gotten really lucky with the way that this final table has panned out. As you guys have already touched upon this evening, just some absolutely incredible MTT players and so many accolades around the table. And having that cards up action visible to us, we get the privilege to see all of it going down and trying to take some pieces from their game and put them into our own. But obviously, I'm on Lex's side here. I don't know, is that a bad thing? Am I allowed to pick sides at this point?
You're allowed to be partisan. I will allow it.
Okay, thank you, James.
But in the interest of
like
political balance, it means that I now have to anti-rail Lex in every single spot.
Game integrity is very important.
And just like how Lex had said, you know, this is a tuition fee. This is how he looks at these buy-ins. I mean, if for us, we get to see the cards up for free. So not only did we not have to pay, but we're kind of getting that same learning experience by watching these amazing players battle it out.
Yeah, we don't have to pay. We don't have any of the stress of actually having to make decisions and do stuff with chips.
Yeah, it's definitely
And we also,
not nearly as stressful.
but we don't get the opportunity to win 220,000 either. But
Yeah,
Absolutely.
skip over the irrelevant detail, Maria.
Oh wow, this is a really interesting limp here. I mean, it looks kind of quite strong, right? At that stack, to actually have a limping range here, so it's kind of like a double bluff. I don't know if you agree, Maria, but like when he's limping off of that stack from the small blind there, you're really even though Jack 7 of hearts, if we were a little bit deeper, might be a nice hand to go ahead and just apply pressure to the limp. You're just sitting there thinking, wow, okay, he's pretty shallow here. Is he really going to be limping with a hand like 9-6 off, for example? It's actually a decent flop for him as well.
Well, Mulder now bets 160k on the turn. Lex has a draw, but is a big favorite right now with Jack high and River's top pair, but it is a straighty, flushy board. Mulder with
Top
less
pair
than
for
pot
Lex as well.
behind. Yeah. And Mulder decides to bluff and snap
GG.
calls. Lex snap calls and eliminates Two and Mulder in 7th place. Fireworks appropriate. Mulder cashing for 43k and Lex back up over 3 million.
He gives the tissues as well. Meanwhile,
Plays and take it for Dingebrinker. Not quite the force they once were, but still big chip leader with more than, well, nearly 7.5 million. And opening here with 9s, Sam Greenwood with 10s.
yeah, interesting situation for Sam. You know, obviously, a jam is definitely plus chip EV there, but some players would have maybe just called.
Well, that is another double up for Sam Greenwood, doubling up twice through the chip leader. Now has 4.1 million, is third in chips overall. And Dingebrinker, there's now not much separating Dingebrinker from Conor Beresford.
oh man, pocket 7's interesting hand to play at this stage, especially on a final table with all those final table considerations. I like the flat, I think, with these specific stack depths.
So Lex has missed this board. 7's still good. And Hello Totty bets 184k, and Lex will fold.
Yeah, and when you flat there, you're definitely going to go and bet at those type of lower flops that you feel like gives you some type of protection, but also feeling pretty good with those 7s there.
Yeah, this actually reminds me a lot of another situation from the Blowout Series as well, where we had a really aggressive big stack, and we were talking a lot about how he was picking his spots really well for perceived range. I think that was basically almost, the stack depths were slightly different, but it was almost identical in the sense that I think Lex really recognized that that was a texture where it just smashed his opponent's flatting range and position, and it was one that he didn't really have enough backdoors to justify the continuation. So I think he kind of knew if he continued in this situation, he's going to get floated a lot by stuff where he's going to have to give up on lots of turns. There's not a bunch of turns that give him the kind of draws that make him really confident about continuing barreling. And it was just a spot where I think Lex really expertly just goes, okay, I think I'm just going to let this one go. I'm going to hold on to these chips, and I'm going to see if I can win some more money on this final.
Wow, Hello Totty calls at the 3-bet, opened with King 10, got re-raised by Conor Beresford with Ace 8, and on a 6-6-4 flop, Ace High still good.
Yeah, and when Hello Toddy calls that 3-bet from Connor, I think Connor knows that, sure, there's going to be some suited broadways in that peeling range, but there's also going to be some pairs like 8s, 9s, 10s potentially as well. So not necessarily the flop that you want to continue with ace high. You are happy to just check it back, and now turning that backdoor flush draw with some showdown value with that ace high as well, I think could potentially open things up.
Not the worst. It's not the worst run out ever, but it is a double paired board. But again, a 6 or a 4 isn't really going to be in too much of like the call 3-bet range from Helatsadi here. But yeah, I echo what Maria said here. To be honest, I think that, you know, ace high on this kind of a texture will just be the best hand a lot of the time, and I think you can just go ahead and play it more passively on the flop, and that's probably going to be the best line. Goes for the value.
As you referenced, Nick, double paired board, and this is where Hello Totti is thinking, could king high be good here?
That's another side of it. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially given the fact that there was the check on the flop. But as we've already pointed out, a lot of those checks will just be things with weak showdown like ace high. Yeah. And it's not a spot where you're ever going to turn your hand into a bluff. I don't think either. You know, it's you're either going to call or you're going to fold, I imagine.
So who is the shortest stack right now? It's Ponakov, right? With 2 million. Blinds are going to be 40-80 for another 15 minutes. Then we go to 50-100. So no one's super short right now. Stacks have evened out considerably.
Yeah, I think that makes it really interesting for us as well, because as we've seen with so many of these Blowout Series finals, you know, there's usually one extremely aggressive big stack, and becoming more aggressive the bigger their stack becomes. You know, it's all kind of a snowball effect. And to see them sort of all sitting around this sort of a big blind range, there's a lot of really interesting dynamics that I think we're going to see. Whereas sometimes, you know, in the former situation I was making reference to, where there's a big stack who's kind of running the table, there's kind of some inevitable plays that you just expect to see, you know. But I think there's just going to be a lot of really tough decisions here, because there's not really too many super clear, you know, danger zone situations right now.
Well, ace 9 bets, but it is jack 8 that's flopped best.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like this line, right? Like, you're in a multi-way pot. You really want to clarify where you're at. If you're heads up, I think it's a different scenario altogether. I think check raising in that situation with that exact combo probably a little bit less frequent. But in the multi-way pot, he just goes, "Look, I'm pretty sure I got the best hand now. I'm just gonna make the play." He's got the chips to make the move as well, right? He's not there trying to figure out where he's at in the hand, you know, raising for information, if that's exactly the right way to describe it, where it's going to put him in the danger zone.
Yeah, and definitely just... Oh, go ahead, Jinx.
I was just going to quickly answer a question from Ida Brotmer, and then I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. Ida Brot asking if we'll cover more than this event tonight. Nope, that's the focus for tonight's stream. This playing down to a winner. Not sure how long that's going to take. Could be several hours. Could be done in 60 minutes. You never know. Tomorrow, though, we will stream the final day, the final table of the 1K Big Blowout, which will close out the series. This can be raise and take it for Lex. No. Binge, Brinket,
King 4 suited. King 4 suited too pretty.
Yeah, hasn't flopped anything though, has it? And this game is all about results, Nick.
Lesson number 1, always be results oriented.
Oh, that's what matters, right?
Imagine.
That's what determines whether you leave the table with money or without money. The results.
It's 50-50. You get the winner, you don't.
Stapes is like furiously taking notes. Like, wait, okay. Nick said, "Heel king four suited." Oh wait, no, ace high flop, no backdoor. Okay. Cool.
Ace king on the button for Sam Greenwood, opens to 176k. Queen jack suited flats. Ponakov with king 10 suited in the big.
Oh, wow. This is a really interesting spot. He can do so much here in the big blinds. I mean, the squeeze is so tempting, right? Yeah, I mean, you can't blame him for doing it. It looks so pretty. And king 10 of diamonds is going to have a lot of equity in most situations, especially from one of the bigger stacks raising off the button, but it's going to go in.
Domination Nation, and Ponakov needs a 10, does not hit, and we lose another player. Alexei Ponakov's gone in 6th place, cashes for $56,517. Sam Greenwood takes the chip lead at this 5-handed final table. And when we came back from break, Sam Greenwood was one of the shortest stacks, right? At one point, Sam had fewer than 10 big blinds.
Yeah, really good day so far for Greenwood to be able to get to this point with that stack.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel for the king 10 there, right? Like you're gonna get folds. It's a spot where you can get plenty of fold equity, and you're gonna increase your stack in terms of like percentage increase. It's a huge amount to pick up if it just goes through pre-flop. And then post-flop, a lot of times, with one of the bigger stacks calling you, you're gonna have like 50% equity, or something like that in a lot of cases where you're just gonna run into a flip. So it really is kind of a tough spot. I think the fact that he was the shortest stack at that time as well is a huge factor in his decision to go ahead and pull the trigger there. He knows he has to double through, he has to aggregate chips, and I think probably that's not a spot that you would want to avoid. I don't know about you, Maria.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention Dingebrinker flatting from the small blind pre just makes it even more attractive to go for the squeeze.
Yeah, and sure enough, right? He had the best hand. He had the best hand from the against the small blind flat there as well. So I think the plan is just a line. Fair play. I think it makes a lot of sense.
So 5-4 for Hello Totti, opening to 168k. Conor Beresford 3 bets with queens, gets the win, takes the chip lead. It's very close right now between Beresford and Greenwood. And Dingebrinker isn't that far behind. Then you got Hello Totti on 3 million. Lex the shortest stack at this 5-handed final table. But no one short stacked. Nines versus artisanal sourdough. Which has the advantage? Nines. See, you wait for the flop to come down, see the result, and then...
Oh, here's the C-bet, though. Here's the C-bet. It's got the backdoor diamonds. He's got the overcard. Yeah, I think this is fairly standard. No improvement on the turn, though.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, how often we're going to see Lex continue to barrel. I think that given the fact that Dingebrinker called pre-flop, called on the flop, I'm not really sure if this run out so far would be good for Lex to continue to try to go for it. But, it's Lex.
All right.
Gets away with it.
Yeah, it was well timed there in that specific spot, but yeah, I think I'm in Maria's camp. It feels like that queen is kind of like connecty with the flop situation. But yeah, fair play, Lex. Nice pot there. 3.1 mil.
No longer the shortest stack. That's now Hello Totti, who's in the big blind here with 9-6. 9 deuce for Lex in the small. Gives Totti a walk.
Surely
That's a good
not.
question from Uncle Jonesy. Uncle Jonesy asks, and I'm going to field that you can field this one, Nick. If ace-5 is sourdough, what hand is regular white bread?
Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, so ace-5 off is just regular sourdough, right? Ace-5 suited is artisanal sourdough. What hand is just regular white bread?
I mean, it doesn't.
What do you think, Maria?
It's not a bad hand. I think it's something just really,
Right.
commonly.
Right.
But then it has to be just one of the lower ace X's probably, because if we're doing a bread type theme for, ace X hands, kind of feel like it has to be like ace deuce offsuit or ace 3 offsuit maybe.
I
Sure.
kind of feel like Sam
You want
Greenwood's
it to be
holding
better.
here, like 7-6 offsuit or 8-9 offsuit. That's kind of a white bread hand to me.
I was also thinking maybe just like Jack 10 off, right? Because Jack 10 suited has so much possibility.
Yeah.
Jack 10 off is like, it's a pretty solid hand, I guess. I'll take a Jack 10 sometimes. It's all good. Something middle of the road.
I think it depends on your view of white bread.
Well, I'm on a keto diet, so I'm going to have to put it as 7 deuce off then.
So we've got kings and sixes for Dingebrinker. Connor Beresford has paired his queen. That's 110,000. Diamonds? No.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I guess now is the time to put in a value bet. I think Connor definitely has a hand that he can still call with as well.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the sizing of Dingebrinker's bet, I think.
Pretty chunky. Pretty chunky.
Yeah, certainly all flushes are pretty possible for Dingebrinker, considering they peeled from the big blind. So not
Yeah,
going to
nice
look
fold
it
there.
up this time.
Sweet, very nice fold. Paul from the production says that from the production team, says ace 7 off should be white bread because it has too much sugar. So I think he's in your camp, Maria.
Yeah, I don't like white bread. Jack 10 suited opened here, and Lex defended with king deuce and has paired his deuce on the flop.
And these spots are really tricky to play well, especially off of Lex's stack.
And
Yep.
Lex now
Nice
has
little
the
turn
flush
there.
draw to go with a pair of deuces.
I think like a lot of people are really tempted in this spot to like play this as a check raise. I see a lot of beginner players check raising, with the deuce here, any kind of a deuce. They just go, pretty sure I got the best hand. I want to try and protect my hand. But once you start to move up the levels, you actually become quite exploitable because it is quite easy for your opponent to just go ahead and click it back against you and really find out where they are in many cases. I'm not saying that works every single time. Having said that, Lex will have some 3x in his range here when he flats the big blind, right? If he has king deuce, he'll have king 3 suited, queen 3 suited, ace 3 suited, those kinds of things as well. So probably not as frequently on this specific texture will they have the bluff back.
So Lex has been counterfeited, but still has the best hand. 8s and 3s with a king.
This question
Yeah,
is
we've got
whether
one.
or not
Whether Connor will...
Connor's gonna find it. And what's the
There's
size,
1.7
Connor?
million in the middle.
Oh, it's so tricky because then Jack High can just be the best hand as well. Do you want to turn your hand into a bluff if Lex is here with some random deuce that you still have beat, right? Like, fair play. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Gives him the tissues.
Horseshoe in your face. So Lex hovering around the 4 million mark right now. Dingebrinker with king jack. Meanwhile, Hello Totty with deuces. Connor Beresford with ace king. I actually think
throughout
this
the
is the
day,
white bread hand. This is the white bread hand. King Jack. Any iteration. Suited, unsuited. I know it's already got a nickname. But this is where you expect the King Jack to be crushed by Ace King. But lo and behold, 6-5 flops 2 pair.
Yeah, beautiful hand. Look at that connection. Checks to the preflop aggressor here. Okay. So obviously any 7 now is the straight. But again, apart from maybe the small blind, I think 6-5 is going to be the best hand here quite often, excuse me, when your opponent is opening FG. But...
Yeah, and
Tricky
sometimes,
one.
Connor will peel with 7s from the small blind, but they would probably
Right.
just go ahead and bet it on the turn here because there are 2 flush draws possible.
Yep, 100%. I think sometimes Connor with that stack as well could have some more speculative hands like, 7-8 suited, that kind of thing too. So for sure, it's not said. Oh my gosh, didn't even see it. The boat for the 6-5. And now he's like, okay, so nobody has anything. What am I doing with this river? I mean, how likely is it that your opponents haven't bet any flush draw at this stage, right? Especially when it goes check, check, check on the flop. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what you got to do. You're just hoping for a crying call.
Here we go. 50K, 100K blinds. If only the human calculator were here to tell us how the stacks equate into big blinds. Sorry, guys, you just have to do it yourselves. The good news is, if you pick up your smartphone, most of them now have these handy calculator apps that can assist you. Eight, 6-5 flop. Ace high, still good.
I don't know if Jack 10 has enough backdoor possibilities to avoid a c-bet, right? I think it's either going to be a c-bet because you really don't have that many opportunities to make a strong hand, or you're pretty much just going to be giving it up. And that's a great turn there for the ace of spades in Dinge Brinker's hand.
Hello Toddy, though, does, could have considered some opportunities to maybe go for a delayed c-bet, considering, they can target those 5x's, 6x's, because they might check back the flop with hands containing king queens, king jacks, and whatnot. But
yeah,
now does river pair.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting lesson as well. I think when you're trying to learn how to become a better poker player, one of the first things you learn is the c-bet. But I think, as you start to develop as a poker player, you realize that sometimes the delayed c-bet looks way stronger, right? Because you're kind of telling a more believable story in many cases, where you've kind of got, like, okay, so I didn't connect with the flop, but then an overcard comes and immediately you can start representing the overcard that you might have checked behind. It makes more sense, like Maria was saying, when there's a king or a queen or an ace on the turn, that kind of thing, because those are the combos that you're probably a lot more likely to check behind with on the flop, where you've got some kind of showdown, but you don't want to be more aggressive on the flop, and then just rep it as hard as you can go into the river as well. And I think it's really, really powerful line to have in your arsenal.
Jack 9 suited for Conor Beresford, opens to 220. Lex with 7-4 in the big. Folds. Sam Greenwood, still chip leader with close to 6 million, has ace-6, raises. Lex with ace-9 suited.
What a pretty hand.
And re-raises to 900K.
Going for the 3-bet here. I mean, talk about awful hands. Ace-6 off. Oh, it's just one of the worst hands in poker. Very difficult to play well, especially in 3-bet pots.
Blind v blind. Conor Beresford with ace-3 suited. Sam Greenwood with 10-6. Are we going to see a flop?
Yeah, I think no matter what happens here, you know, Connor's clearly limping in with a hand like ace-3 suited to continue against a raise.
Yep. Absolutely agree. Just controlling the size of that pot and just taking a very playable hand post-flop without having to get too crazy or play in really overinflated pots.
King, king 8. Ace high. Better than a 3-1 favorite.
Yeah, 10-6 mandatory c-bet, but ace-3 mandatory call, especially with the backdoor spades here. I mean, you've kind of disguised the strength of your hand by limp calling in the first place, and ace-3 will just be the best hand on this board, like, in a crazy amount of the time. Way more than people give it credit for.
Yeah, and you would certainly have to consider the fact that the raise came from Sam Greenwood in the big blind, who has the chip lead. So a lot of good reasons why Sam would be raising without much.
I mean, on the flip side of that, though, as well, right? Like, you know, Sam is going to be attacking turns really aggressively, especially when he picks up gut shots, like 10-6, for example. So, you know, it is tough, right? Because you don't want to be exploitable, but sometimes you have to kind of also predict what a good turn looks like for you. At this point, it's really hard for him to call a second barrel here with the ace-3. I think calling on the flop is mandatory because you do have the backdoor spade, so there's a really clear continue card on the turn. But I think in that spot, the c-bet from the gut shot is so standard, and then I think the fold from the ace-3 are the same. But he wakes up with aces the very next hand.
Pocket rockets for Conor Beresford. The raise is from Hello Totty to 210,000. The re-raise is 568,000.
It makes
He's certainly
it look
been
really
treating really
enticing.
aggressively.
Right. And you know, it's a sizing that's very enticing, but, you know, Hello Toddy does have less chips now than they did earlier when they peeled with the suited Broadway type hand to a 3-bet from Connor.
And what a flop for Hello Totty. Top 2 pair. Hello Totty, big favorite now as Connor barrels for 445,000. And why waste time if you're Hello Totty? Sure enough, gets it in, gets called. 2 cards to fade, but queens and tens are still good. That is the double up for Hello Totty, who now is tied with Sam Greenwood for the chip lead. Conor Beresford left with 15 bigs.
Unlucky, very unlucky. I mean, everything was against him there, right? Hello Toddy was stacked in a way where you're never folding once you put in the c-bet. It's so difficult. It's just not even a thing, right? We talk about getting away from aces, but that's not a situation where you ever get away from aces on that kind of a super coordinated wet texture.
Queen 9 versus Queen 9, and it's a straight draw for both players. Get ready to harmonize, people.
I stay ready.
I was born ready.
I have visions of Maria expecting every single hand to end in a chop pot and be just like poised no matter what happens.
She's been getting voice lessons, you know. You know, she's always ready. She's always ready.
Well, there is the possibility that someone could get bluffed off this.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those where the action might decide whether or not it becomes a chop. Hard to say. Yep.
Yep.
There you go.
Nope. Stand down. Sorry, Maria.
Hello Toddy hates chop pots. There you go. This just in. PokerNews.com tomorrow.
Brinker opening with Queen 10 of clubs. Connor Beresford calls with 10-8. Queen high flop.
Wow. So, like, I think he's just going to c-bet here, right? Because, you know, Connor's going to have some sevens and some deuces and some queens and stuff like that. But, like, what if you have, like, Queen 10 with a 10 of spades or the Queen of spades? Like, the way that Connor's stacked, this might actually be one of those sneaky spots to actually check behind with top pair where you do have a blocker, where he's going to have less combos of flush draws where he wants to check jam. I think the biggest reason why you do want to c-bet where you don't have a spade in your hand here is because it gives your opponent a it's going to give your opponent slightly more combos where they're going to have a flush draw where they will check jam, where they know they'll get some folds against the aggressor, and then they also have the equity if they do end up getting called by a queen or whatever there too.
So Totti opening on the button with Jack 9 of diamonds. Pocket sixes for Sam Greenwood. Should point out that Connor Beresford is down to 12 big blinds now. And it's the straight draw for Totti. I'll let you answer this question, Maria. Oh, dude asks, is Sam Greenwood a good player?
Well, considering the fact that Sam plays in the toughest tournaments, the highest buy-ins in the world, I would have to say yes. And even if you confuse Sam with one of his brothers, you know, all the Greenwood brothers are pretty dang good at poker.
He's terrible at Monopoly, though. I heard that.
As we established earlier, tens of millions of dollars in live winnings, $5 million in online winnings, 2 WCOOP titles, 2 SCOOP titles. Pretty good at poker. Well, this is interesting.
Hello,
Lex opening
Toddy.
with ace jack. And Totti 3-betting, yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Toddy. Ace jack off. Oh, such a hard hand to play. Such a hard hand. Such a hard hand to play well. Just flop the
Okay,
set.
well, this is interesting. The set, but Lex has the jack of diamonds.
71%. Oh, so much equity in this spot because obviously he has those additional outs where his opponent can, or the sixes can make the boat. Half pot. Just gets away. Nice work, Lex.
Well, Hello Totti has moved up over 8 million. Hello Totti is now in the situation that Dingebrinker was in at the end of the last session when we went on break for the first time.
Yeah, and Hello Toddy clearly just amping up the aggression now that they're in a much better chip position. Normally probably wouldn't have seen them attacking the under the gun open with a 3-bet with sixes, but
Yeah.
things are a little different now.
A lot of people asking about Hello Totti, and I did reference earlier on that we don't know the real names of all the players at this final table. In fact, Hello Totti and Dingebrinker are the 2 unknowns. We do know that Hello Totti has online winnings on Stars of just shy of $6 million and is a former Sunday Million champion, won the Sunday Million in 2018. Meanwhile, Dingebrinker with jacks here after Sam Greenwood opens with King 10 suited. And, you know, that's a classic Jacks flop. Okay, with the advantage of knowing all the cards, we can see that Jacks are still ahead. But you're looking at that board thinking, yeah, great.
I mean, I think you're just going to check with jacks here, right? Once your opponent has checked you, like, what are you getting value from that they don't want to bet on the flop? Like, a lot of times, it's pretty rare for the initial pre-flop aggressor not to want to continue with diamonds here. So they're going to have an ace sometimes, they're going to have a queen sometimes, they're going to have kings sometimes, they're going to have aces sometimes, and then everything else isn't really stuff you're going to get value from. So I like the check. On the turn, though, the diamonds come, so I think it's probably going to be a little bit closer. But again, if your opponent is sitting here with King 10 with the King of Diamonds that they checked on the flop, would they just bet the turn when they have the diamond draw as well? So I like the check again. And then King High's like, I got showdown. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to turn my hand into a bluff. Question is whether or not the jacks find a value bet if the King 10 does decide to check. Because they can still have like nines, right? King 10 could be nines, or it could be eights or something like that, where they can still have the best hand, especially if they have a diamond. Yeah, fair play though.
Wow, jacks again.
Yeah, it was certainly a situation where you should consider going for the value bet on the river, but you also know that you open yourself up to potentially getting check raised there, but fine to not go for it.
For sure. There's like an additional level as well where in some cases the initial raiser having faced a lot of checks. So if you're there with pocket nines or something like that, or maybe pocket tens, if you're seeing your opponent check, check, check all the way to the river like that, sometimes they will be the hand. They'll be the player with the hand like King 10 or something like that. So there might have even been an opportunity for them to put in what they thought was the value bet against King High or Queen High or something like that. So you can probably take out some of those combos immediately because he probably would have considered that as the first to act in that pot.
So as I referenced, Dinge Brinker has picked up jacks for the second hand in a row up against Sam Greenwood's tens, and both players have overpairs to this 8-5-4 board. And Dinge Brinker is now close to being a 96% favorite. We've got $1 million in the middle already.
Oh, man. I mean, your opponent in the big blind is going to have loads of this, and including 6-7, right? 6-7 is going to be in here as well. So it's not just like a 5 or a 4 or an 8. You have counterfeited 4-5, which is nice. So I think it really could go either way here with the turn bet.
620K. Greenwood calls, and jack's still good.
Yeah, I think you can check the tens pretty confidently because if your opponent does have aces or kings or something like that, it's not like they want to continue on this kind of a river, right, with this run out. So I think you're pretty confident that if your opponent does bet that river, you're losing, so you can just check. And then, of course, the jacks are going to be a check every time as well. But really, really interesting one there for sure.
Yeah, a huge pot for Dinge Brinker, a significant win, up over 6 million, second in chips, as Sam Greenwood drops down to 36 big blinds. Meanwhile, quick update from the 1K Big Blowout, an event with a $6.9 million prize pool. 1,054 players remain. They will play down to the final table tonight. Tomorrow, they will compete for a first prize of nearly $1 million. Queen 7 versus 8-7. Yeah, for sure. Again, it's Greenwood versus Dinge Brinker, and there is a 7 on the flop.
This is a tough spot for the 7-8 here, though, because you just don't want to get exploited, and you don't want to put your opponent on the ace every single time, and it's so hard to get away from second pairs on this kind of a texture. I think the king might be a little bit of a godsend to try and save you some money once in a while, but very tough one. Yeah. Okay.
So a chance for Greenwood to get some back here from Dinge Brinker.
He might be able to work out that there's a value bet here based on the check on the turn. Because, yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't think your opponent is going to check behind a king on the turn that often. So, yeah, very nice. That's really, really, really nice. Yeah, he got there in the end. But it was the check on the turn when he was in position, I think, is very telling. And at that point, you're like, cool, so it's not an ace, cool, so it's not a king. So I definitely have the best 7 most of the time. And I think the sizing is perfect to get paid by all that and also control the size of the pot as well. Sometimes inspire, maybe a raise if you want to be a superhero.
Pocket Rockets raising small to big. Oh, Lex folding 8-3 of diamonds. Boring.
Lex just ruining the stream. Guys, can you believe this? Unbelievable.
Let's keep track of who's playing from where and how many bullets are they in for. It's my favorite part of the evening. Connor Beresford from the UK, in for 3 bullets, in for $15,000. However, now guaranteed a significant profit. Mr. Veldhuis from the Netherlands, in for 1 bullet, as is Sam Greenwood, who is Canadian. Dingebrinker in for 2 bullets. Dingebrinker is an Estonian player. And Hello Totti, our current chip leader, is Russian and bought in 3 times. Meanwhile, trip 9s for Greenwood. Totti has paired their 10.
Yeah, gonna spell trouble for Tachi, obviously. Looks like a pretty good flop for that King 10, and can't help but feel for the fact that they're gonna put in the raise here.
You know, this is the second time we've seen Toddy check raise when the board was, paired, and then he had like it was, I can't remember what it was. I think it was Jack 7 or Jack 8 or something like that, where it came like 7, 7, 8 earlier. The click back here is devastating. What's really interesting here, guys, though, is like it is the absolute min click back, right? He's putting in the minimum amount after there's been a raise to 4-4-1, right? But he is, or around that point, you know what I'm saying? But by the time you've actually put in that amount in terms of SPR, like you can get your chips in really, really easily, right? You don't have to raise that much more when the stacks are this way to realize 100% of the value you want from trip 9s in that spot.
$10-7 against 4-3, blind on blind.
Thank you for the subscription, Spraggy.
Yeah, we need every penny we can get. I mean, we do in order to pay people like Spraggy.
Don't think that there's much Sam can do here against, Connor's limp from the small blind and then just stabbing at this flop. Certainly Connor will have some traps there limping in, planning to limp call off against a jam.
So Lex executes a Gibbons, limps under the gun with ace queen. Hello Totti limps as well with king 10 suited, and now a free flop for Dingebrinker, and it is ace high. So the belly buster for Hello Totti, but Lex, big favorite here with top pair.
Okay, peel from the belly buster.
And you could pretty swiftly rule out that Hello Toddy will have, the top of their range here, considering they just flatted behind Lex's flat. So if you feel fairly comfortable that they're not going to have aces or ace jack in the spot or ace king in the spot, then you're really hoping to attack, the ace X's and maybe get a call from worse aces than your ace queen in this spot. King jack suited, obviously a possibility.
Yeah, no, 100%. And especially that's even more going to be even truer because he is the biggest stack at the table, right? So he's not going to be limping with too many like sort of strongish speculative hands that, yeah, you know what I mean? Like if he has jacks or he has kings or he has aces or ace king or whatever, he's just going to pump it up there because Lex isn't a threat to his tournament life. So yeah, absolutely agree.
Dingebrinker raises small to big, gets the fold from Lex.
We see Lex being really deliberate with the type of hands that he's willing to peel pre against Dingebrinker's open from the small blinds. just not really wanting to waste, those 2 or 3 big blinds calling if they know that it's going to be tough to continue post.
Yep, very wise.
Interesting.
All right. Deuce 4 of clubs.
Works.
Absolutely.
Conor Beresford dominated here. It's dropped down to 10 big blinds. And now has queens.
Emergence queens.
Yeah, just trying to see who's going to give him action though, Maria.
Yeah, I really like this fold from Lex here too. Like King 5 suited actually is part of that opening range, in a vacuum, right? But he's at like 30 big blinds effective, and he's like Maria was saying, he's being really selective with the range that he's choosing to use at this critical juncture where he just really wants to stay in this tournament. And obviously Conor is in a spot where he can be pushing quite aggressively as well, which isn't what you want to see. So like to see that one come out there for sure. What do you think is the weakest suited king you would open there, Maria?
As Lex with that stack size?
Yeah,
I'd probably go with King 9 suited.
That was what I was going to say too. I think King 9 suited is way too strong, but yeah, I think less than that, you probably want to avoid it in this specific setup.
And here we see Conor limping in from the small blind with queens. And last time around this similar stack size, we saw Sam Greenwood attack with the 10-6 offsuit, raising from the big. But this time, Conor again limping in, Sam deciding to check behind. So it's just important to have a balanced limping range from the small blind, even when you're playing off of a stack size like 12 bigs.
Yeah, no, this is actually really interesting because right when I jumped on comms as well, guys, you'll remember that we saw that limp against Lex where it was blind v blind. He limped in there with 9-6 off, if I remember correctly, at a similar shallow stack depth, and that's the kind of respect that you can command for the same reason that you can also include some traps like queens as well. So really, really interesting to see that dynamic from the weakest end of their range and then also from the strongest too.
So blinds have gone to 60, 120. Totti's open to 252. And that is a pair of kings for the chip leader. Dinge Brinker has the belly buster.
Yeah, mandatory call for that size. Yeah, from Hello Toddy. Like, he's going so small there, you're never going to fold your gutter on the flop. You can take it away from him on a later street as well, right? There's no reason why. Although on this texture, you're probably going to see a lot of good players barreling off at least twice to try and rep that ace super hard.
Queen 5 versus King 3. And again, Lex folds to Dinge Brinker's raise. Sam Greenwood has the pocket rockets. Conor Beresford, Queen Jack suited, raises for half his stack.
Oh. This is what Lex has been waiting for. He's been patient. $23,000 pay jump if he can hold out here.
And now Conor has flopped a pair, second pair. May just decide to rip now. No checks.
Yeah, I mean, there's no opportunity for him to get away, right? SPR is way, 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 way too low. If Conor makes this fold, oh my God, that would be something to behold.
Greenwood makes it small, 120,000. It's a min bet.
Oh, it's so cheeky, so cheeky. There you go. Good luck.
All in and a call.
Oh,
And a queen on the river. Connor Beresford
wow.
cracks aces and doubles up through Sam Greenwood.
And the legend of Connor continues.
So to be fair, Connor's aces were cracked by Hello Totty. So Connor's just returning the favor, albeit to another player.
Nice hand, Connor. Very nice.
Yeah.
Back in the game. Straight back in there, too.
So we are going to the break, still five-handed. Hello Totty with the chip lead, but Connor Beresford now playing around 30 big blinds after getting that much-needed double up, that much-needed suck out against Sam Greenwood. Connor is a player with nearly $15 million in online earnings. His biggest score came in the High Rollers series last year, won the main event for nearly 400K, and was a WCOOP champion last year as well, taking down the 5K High Roller. In fact, if memory serves me correctly, at the start of WCOOP, the PokerStars blog team compiled their list of players who should have won a WCOOP title and hadn't. Connor was on that list, and then, of course, got his name off that list by winning his first WCOOP trophy in 2020. Maria, I want to touch on what we've talked about a lot over the last 2 hours, and it was when Lex was kind of at the start of the show assessing how he rates himself, how he ranks himself against the rest of the field, and says, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that I was streaming these, I wouldn't be playing 5Ks and I'm kind of outclassed. It's something that you don't hear very much in poker, right? Certainly, I guess you do probably at the top tier, and it's important to know where you fall in the grand order and what your limit is, what your level is, because so many times, and Nick, I know you're going to back me up here, you see recreational players say, you know, if I had the bankroll to play at that level, they'd respect my raises in the high rollers, I'd get it done. But you do have to know, Maria, where you rank. You do have to know what your level is.
Yeah, listen, it's a fine line between feeling confident enough in your game so that when you get to these situations, you're not afraid to get in there and you're going to be competing even against the best of them. But I think it's important to, you know, make sure that you keep your expectations in line with how well you really think you stack up against these players. And I feel like Lex has kind of perfected that fine line in this situation. Is you don't want to be too overconfident, but you have to know that you have to be battling it out with some of the best, and you have to be able to hold your own.
Nick, you've been around the block a few times and you understand bankroll management and you know where to pitch your game. And I guess I'm talking now about you as a player rather than as a streamer. But do you ever find yourself wanting to kind of move up in stakes just to test yourself, or play the odd MTT that's maybe beyond the level that you would normally play?
I mean, personally, bankroll management has always been relatively easy for me, because for me, the win wasn't ever to do, like, it wasn't ever monetary goals that I had set myself. It was more consistency, because in my journey, it was always like, do I think I can consistently beat this game? And actually served me really well, because if your goal is to consistently beat a game, then of course you're going to end up to play the staying to play, if that was kind of your target in the first place. So no, I didn't have that problem necessarily, but I think it's great to test yourself in terms of consistency, and then once you've actually worked your way up to the point where you can afford the next highest stake, you'll know that you've earned it, and probably you're good enough to compete at that level as well.
Maria, what is the highest buy-in that you've ever played? And the first time you played a big buy-in event, did you throw up in your mouth?
I think the highest buy-in MTT I've ever entered into is 50K, and I did not throw up, but I have to admit, you know, I mean, this was 12 years after I started playing professionally. I did feel a little uncomfortable when I first sat down. I haven't felt that feeling in a long time, where I'm like, ooh, I really don't want to get knocked out in the first hand of this tournament. Just let me play one orbit, you know, make it worth my while.
Well, the buy-in for this event was $5,000, and 5 players remain competing for a top prize of nearly 220K. Lex Veldhuis is the shortest stack right now, but not much separates Lex, Connor Beresford and Sam Greenwood. 22, 24, 26 big blinds respectively. Dingebrinker second on the leaderboard with 45 bigs. Hello Totty, the chip leader with 67 bigs. It's getting shallower. 37 big blind average right now. As we return you to the final table, Maria and Nick are going to stick around, but I'm going to leave you. Well, I'm going to put Joe Stapleton in command. Joe, remind everyone what they're playing for at this final table.
They're playing for money. You can see it right there, 219,000 plus to the eventual winner. 9th, 8th, 7th place, 6th place, all been awarded already. This tournament is beginning to resemble the weirdest massage I've ever had. 5-handed. Joe Stapleton, Maria Ho, Nicholas Walsh. Action folded around to Connor B. Pocket nines in the small. Not much happening here for Sam Greenwood. Straight dollar signs homie folds. Who now wakes up with Big Slick energy in the small.
I definitely found myself saying that. I think it was the home game we played in, Joe, and I got ace king. I'm like, Big Slick energy, let's go.
You can't say it. You just can't announce it when your hold cards are down.
Right.
Dingebrinker defends.
You just got that look on your face like you're thinking it now, right?
Sam Greenwood still out in front with ace king suited. One heart on board. And it's Dingebrinker taking a stab.
I mean, we've kind of seen a similar spot to this already, haven't we, guys? It's I don't think he's played ace king in this manner to fold the flop, especially with the backdoor hearts. The paired board is actually pretty sweet for the ace king here as well. This is definitely kind of a nice turn for your ace king to remain the best hand if it was in fact the best hand on the flop.
3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ace high winning.
Yeah, but this is an interesting river. I could see Dingebrinker using this river to go for it. Obviously, with that flop bet, you're going to have a lot of those gut shot straights that come in on the river and those flush draws as well.
Yeah, plus you're holding
I wouldn't want to
blocker.
I wouldn't want to try to bluff at someone off of, especially Sam Greenwood off of ace king here, even if I had more straights and flushes in my range. Here we go, the half pot bet. Will it work?
Oh, Sam. Oh, Sam. Crystal ball, Sam.
Right? Definitely looks like a credible line, though, from Dingebrinker.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that makes sense there. Enough to get ace king to fold. Nice bluff. Good shot, Maria, as well. I think that's definitely, especially when you have a 7 in your hand, I think that's definitely a spot to go ahead and just you do something clever. And it's one of those spots as well where you can use a smaller size, right? You don't need to go crazy with it because it makes it look less believable if you're going to use like a bigger size than half pot, I think.
You guys heard that. When you have a 7 in your hand, you should bluff the river. Shaping up for a big flip here. Hello, Toddy and Connor Beresford. Gonna play a 6 million chip pot, it looks like.
Gives him the clock on the final table of a 5K event.
Yeah, it is a close spot if you think about, how much of your stack it represents to call off here as Hello Toddy. Sure, if you think that Connor's not going to be, just open, just 3-bet jamming with ace king or the bigger pairs, then of course you feel like ace queen has to be playing pretty well. But you know that it's
guys are 5K professionals. Calm down. There's the call. Ace high flop. Queen on the turn. No 10 on the river. Connor B, despite the massive suck out just before the break, succumbs in 5th place, $74,139.
Yeah, and again, I think that was just a situation where you're just trying to assess the fact that if Connor's not going to be 3-bet jamming with the strongest hands, with, you know, the ace king, the aces, and the kings and queens, they might just be 3-betting but not shoving there, then you know that ace queen is going to be a flip, most likely against the range.
I like this here from D-Coot. Says Connor B, more like Connor C. You later. And we are now four-handed.
That's really good, actually. That's solid. Nice work, D.
Playing a big pot here between Hello Toddy and Dinge Brinker. A player who is always on the brink of Dinge.
Four-handed
Yeah, and
poker.
Hello
Who
Toddy
loves to see it?
Yeah, and Hello Toddy taking a hand that, you know, most players would be fine with just peeling, but really putting the pressure on against a button open range.
And Hello Toddy with 11.8 million to start the hand. Limps in with the Havana Banana.
Might be tempted just to rip this one. He's a little bit on the deeper side, but I can definitely see a push here with the ace-8. Nice.
And a strong point from Kazoo that I meant to mention but forgot, that Lex has now secured his biggest ever online cash, guaranteed $97,000. Previous was $96,000. So well done.
Yeah, nice one, Lex. Very, very good.
A bit of a wreck shaping up here. A pair and a diamond for Toddy. A flopped joint for Dingebrinker.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and plenty reason to just fast play and raise here. Obviously, there's a flush draw on the flop, and also you're going to be up against overpairs to this board a fair amount of the time as well.
Yep, I think in reg v reg play as well, this is a texture where a lot of regs like to check raise their gut shots. So like the 5 is just going to be the best hand here a lot. You know, not only that, you also have a blocker out to 6-7 as well, so they're not going to hit their 6-7 straight as often. That's another hand that they might want to check raise because they have 2 overcards and the straight draw. So really, really a weird one. And the check, I think, makes sense, right? Because if they're thinking on that level, if they already know that that's kind of the range they're going to check raise with, I think the check makes sense because you would slow down if you had the gut shot on the flop that you check raised. 5-8 obviously trying to defend from that now. So we're just seeing levels on levels on levels, and you can see how it starts to spiral from there when you're playing against really, really powerful, strong opponents.
Maybe a bit of an action-killing river card as the spade flush comes in. There's the check. Does
you got showdown with the
decide
5.
to turn the 5 into a bluff or take the showdown value?
I don't think so. I mean, you've got good showdown at this point, right?
You're definitely beating the missed gut shot draws.
And the straight and the 6-7 too. Yeah, fair play. I think that played out kind of as expected, but decent sized pot there for Dingebrinker.
Ruh-roh. Another Dingebrinker Toddy showdown shaping up.
I mean, is he just flat here? I don't know. These are the 2 biggest stacks at the table. Yeah, I like the flat. I really prefer the flat in the final table dynamic for sure.
10-10 deuce is the flop. C-bet from Toddy.
Yeah, expecting Dingebrinker to call here and decide on later streets.
Oh.
Makes the decision a little easier.
His hand just got
Top
a lot
pair now
better.
for Dinge.
Ooh, full pot.
Toddy continues, yeah, to blast away at this. 950,000 is the bet.
Man. He does have 2 overcards and the gutter still. But of course the ace isn't going to help him, so it's only 1 overcard in the gutter.
Yeah, I would expect Hello Toddy, though, to give up now on this river, just because I think, given the fact that Dingebrinker was willing to call such a big bet size on the turn, you do have to imagine Dingebrinker will have some trips here peeling from the small blind.
Yeah, maybe deuce is full some of the time. I mean, they are the deeper stacks, right? So when we are shallower, we see fewer of those small pocket pairs set mining. The deeper you become, obviously, the more of those are going to go into that flatting range there as well.
Flex with ace jack limping in. Hello,
I kept
Tommy
hearing this
checks.
scratching noise in my headset, and then I realized my plant is attacking me.
Ah,
I was like,
eat your
what is
vegetables.
that?
Maria trying to prove that her plant is real. Once again, guys, don't think we didn't notice, Maria.
My
Maybe
plant's
not the
just trying
best
to
time
leave.
for attack of the fauna and the flora because Lex Veldhuis has just gotten outturned in a big way. This
Yikes.
could be the end of the road.
Oh, man, SPR is so bad here. Ugh.
Yeah, you would just imagine that Hello Toddy's going to raise with all of that flush draw, straight draw possibility.
Got the 4 of diamonds.
1.5 behind.
Yeah, SPR is less than 1 now. Almost exactly 1, but just less than 1 for Lex. Oh, this is so hard for Lex here because your opponent will have like 4 or 5 of diamonds and like 3, 4, and like
We're all a little
6,
hard for
5
Lex.
of diamonds. Oh, brutal.
Hmm.
Lex
Brutal.
puts it in. Toddy
Brutal.
does not fold 2 pair. Congratulations, Lex Veldhuis. Biggest online score ever for our good friend from Holland. 4th place, $97,256, or the Netherlands. And we're down to 3. GG, Lex.
Yeah, GG Lex, great run.
GG, buddy. That
Oh,
was a
and the
sick,
very
sick
next
run.
hand, Sam Greenwood all in with
Wow.
Jack 10, despite smashing the flop and turn, not good enough. Hello, Toddy.
Wow.
Next, knocks out Sam Greenwood next in 3rd. 127,000 for Sam. And we're heads up, kids.
Wow. Hello, Toddy. Hello, Toddy.
And hello, Toddy. Flops a diamond draw. Ace high. Still ahead for now, despite being a statistical dog. And the 7, it is always coming.
We got a couple people in the chat asking about why Lex decided to limp that ace jack. I think at that stack depth, the limp is actually GTO. Pretty confident about that fact. You do want to have some hands that you can limp jam with. Ace jack off is definitely one of them. One of them. You know, ace queen, ace king gets closer to a hand that you just want to go ahead and start putting money in pre-flop at that specific stack depth. But I'm fairly confident that the limp is the GTO play there. Especially against the big stack. Don't forget that as well. There's additional dynamic. There's additional reason to want to allow your opponent to try and exploit your limp. And I think he was deep enough where it didn't look that fishy. So I think he probably did it correctly. Just very unlucky there.
Things
Just unlucky.
Very, very close to even between Dinge Brinker and Hello Toddy, who wakes up with kings. And is going to have a ball here.
Oh, my Lord.
Bet. And there's
Wow.
the 4th bet.
Yeah, Dinge Brinker, picking the 9-7 suited to put in their 3-bet range here. I personally sometimes would like to see maybe the lower suited going in there, maybe, the 7-5 suited. But tough to continue against the 4-bet.
Yep.
And Hello Toddy regains the chip lead. Never lost it technically, but Jack 9 versus Queen Trey. Nine on the turn. That is trip 9s for Toddy. Lock it up. Dinge Brinker drawing dead.
Oh, I think I think I kind of like it's close. Really depends what you think, how you think your opponent is going to play their ace-x here. But I think I sometimes I'd like a check on that turn as well, where you're just going to be like, I was a c-bet, I'm just going to give up now. Give your opponent the opportunity to bluff or get additional value from the 6 on a later street as well.
Hachi Machi. These folks a little deep, but these are two super premium heads-up hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. You're absolutely right there. Look at the size, guys. Look at the size here. Putting in the 4x 3-bet. I do like the size. I think this is correct at the stacked up. King high board. 10s can't feel great about that. And obviously ace queen with the motivation, with the incentive to continue here. Backdoor clubs as well make you feel a little bit more confident. 1/4 on the flop. Again, this is definitely the GTO size for this. Yep.
Yeah, and a sizing that Hello Toddy won't fold.
How about Hello Tenny on the turn?
Oh, you're like, the king is so annoying. Never mind. Please have a king. Please have the king.
Right? It's so amazing how in these situations, how quickly your thought process goes from like, when you call on the flop with 10s, you're like, please check the turn, please check the turn. And then now you're like, oh, please bet the turn, please bet the turn.
This guy runs so good against me. He's always got a king in these 3-bet pots. Oh my God, please have a king, please have a king, please have a king. It's really funny how you, the roller coaster you go on when you're playing in these situations, especially heads up.
I feel like we were in Stape's brain there. That's what he's thinking in our home games. He's like, oh, this guy's so lucky. Always an overcard to my
pretty much.
He's got kings. He's got kings again, and he's been showing so much aggression. I don't know if Jack 9 is the kind of hand
second time in like 5
with.
hands. Hello, Toddy. Pocket
Hello,
kings.
Toddy, indeed.
Yeah, nice time for you to crank it, Stapes.
That's why they had to take us out for a minute. He's over here cranking it. Dingebrinker flops the belly buster.
Okay, 1/4 would be the
Overpair,
balance size. We saw this a second ago. We saw this. It was a similar 3-bet situation. The 1/4 pot size is correct here. There it is. Yeah, perfect. A little bit over, but same effect.
Excuse me, that's more than a quarter pot.
Thank you, human calculator. That's why we pay you the big bucks.
But yeah, it is important that, we saw a similar texture where it was like king 8-8 or whatever it was previously, where there was a 3-bet pot with the ace queen of clubs. And again, that 1/4 sizing is awesome to get folds, but also just to go ahead and try and take it away on later streets as well.
Hello, Toddy is going to be saying hello to another large pot, it looks like.
Yeah, I absolutely love the check on this turn. This is exactly where you want to have some traps when you are so nutted here. Your opponent shouldn't really have that many 8x combos either in a 3-bet pot, so I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
And after picking up a bunch of monsters in just a few hands of heads up, Hello Toddy now has a better than 3-1 chip lead. And we do have an announcement from the 1K, the big blowout that we'll be covering tomorrow. They are in the money. They'll be playing down from 45,000 players to 9 tonight. So we can cover that tomorrow. No, 1,300. 1,300 players down to 9.
Hello, Toddy. Just running pretty well right now.
Yeah.
Domination rotation.
Not really having to sweat all that much. XSeeb asks, what place did Lex get? I believe he bought a house. Thank you for your question.
Must bet turn, must bet turn, must bet turn. Now is the time. Hello, Toddy. You know it. There it is. Nice and chunky. I love this sizing as well. You want to punish the diamonds. You want to punish some gut shots. You just want to take it down here, or you're happy for them to call for that sizing as well if they do have a bare diamond because they don't have the correct price to directly profit there.
Yeah, and it's always nice when you know exactly which rivers you're going to be happy to check back against.
Yep. Yep.
Hello, Toddy Limson. Dingebrinker checks behind. Pair of queens for Toddy.
Yep. At this stage, where are we at right now? 280. Yeah, I mean, at this stage, I don't think there's going to be that many ace-x combos that you limp with from the button here with Dinge Brinker. So you're going to feel pretty good about your queen. Plus, you got the spade blocker as a bonus here. I mean, probably go. Yeah, you're just going to go for value here from some king highs and maybe some 3x, that kind of a thing.
Toddy getting
I think you have to bet.
relatively carefree poker at this point.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, at this point, you can just do no wrong. It feels like you're value betting at the right times. You're coolering your heads up opponent.
Unlike what I've been told most of my life, size matters. So you still have to choose your bet sizing correctly. But at least knowing pretty confidently where you're at in the hand is certainly a comforting feeling that we don't get very often. We've got Toddy limping in. And for the first time, Dinge Brinker with a dominating hand. Has 3-6 crushed.
Yeah,
and knows it. Look at this.
Trey's a really hard hand to play there.
Yeah, as good of a result as you can expect with threes as Dinge Brinker when you put in the raise. You know that you don't really want to be playing it out of position post.
Yeah, I mean, when you're shallower, it's easy game, right? You just punt it in, no big deal. You got. I have a pair. You limped. I'm all in, easy game. But when you're at that stack depth, you're going to get limp calls a lot, and then you're in a lot of really awkward situations with a hand that is very poor playability. Unless you flop the set, then it's an easy game.
Nick, I don't know if you were listening earlier, but it's no longer punted in; it's field gold it in.
Oh, you're absolutely. I was actually. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Field goal. I love that. What happened, man? Oh, it was a classic field goal.
Acuna Frittata says, I like Joe also. He's like the Bill Cosby of poker comedy. Do you want to be the Bill Cosby of anything?
I mean, I think that means that you would never want to go to sleep while I'm around, which I take as a compliment.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Toddy limping in with Jack-6 off.
Hello, Toddy.
Queen 10 of hearts. Hello, Razy.
Yeah, Queen 10 of hearts, unlike pocket threes, absolutely gorgeous hands. Lots of playability. Feel way better about raising that one than you do about the trays, for sure.
Hey, what goes around comes around. And what is kings? Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so gross. At least there's an ace out there. Dinge Brinker immediately outflopped. Does have 2.8% of the equity.
I think he's got to bet the flop here as well. Oh, goes for the check on the 3-club board. That's interesting.
0% of the equity.
In his hand.
Yeah, definitely will save. They'll save Dinge Brinker some chips here. Wow, and now facing a pot-sized bet on the turn. Some days you're the bug, and some days you're the windshield.
Oh, it's such a payoff river as well.
Dinge Brinker.
Oh, it's such a payoff river. It's so hard to get away from kings. Okay, 1.6.
You got to bet like one chip here.
I mean, it's like it would make sense for him to have like a 10 here because he checked the flop and he led the turn, right? It would make sense for him to have maybe not a 9.
It's kings, your heads up. Be careful, kings.
Nice.
All right, what a lay down, huh? Yeah. Excellent.
I like that Dinge was able to get away from that because I think the only consideration you have there is Toddy did bet pot size on the turn. So I don't know if turning a pair of tens would have gone for that sizing. An ace definitely looks likely, potential flushes, and of course, a naked flush draw there. But
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, no,
God.
and then like as we were trying to like go backwards and figure out what he would still value bet there, like I think it's only the 10 that would make sense, and then everything else is going to be strong, right? So I do really think that is absolutely fantastic fold. It's so hard to get away from it, but yeah, pretty cool.
King on the river doesn't connect with anyone. Guys, I'm just reading over here that Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas have broken up. Sorry. I was pretty heavily invested in that
they
one.
seem so happy.
They can't make it.
I
know Ben watches sometimes. Sorry, buddy.
I do have to say
man.
that I've got mad respect right now for Dingebrinker. Nothing has gone their way so far, but to be able to still make that tough laydown with kings, even though you feel like for some reason you're just getting smashed pot after pot, it's hard to be able to have the mentality.
Would you have as much respect for Dingebrinker if you knew that their entire home was destroyed right now out of frustration? Just broken windows and small fires. I'd say there's still some respect for at least keeping the laptop intact. Got bottom pair.
I think 167K guaranteed is a nice consolation prize, and it pays for all the damages as well.
Man, it's so hard to make a straight. It's ridiculous. 5 in a row?
But it seems so easy to have straight draws, but just to get there.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. This is it. He did it. That's a straight. He did it. Now I see what you're talking about, Maria. And your respect for Dingebrinker. Look at this. 5 cards in a row.
Size.
Just talking about that.
There you go. 490K. That's a good size. I like the size.
Sorry, I'm just so not used to hearing that. I like the size. Foreign. Doesn't get paid. Claws some chips back. Pocket 5s for Hello Toddy. King 10 for Dingebrinker. There's the raise. 490,000.
Yeah, this is
You
definitely
gotta
a
do
call
it.
hand. Mm-hmm.
Fives holding. Great turn for 5s.
I would love to know what Hello Toddy's line would be if he checks flop and then Dingebrinker goes ahead and just barrels at him. I mean, I'm assuming he's probably just going to give it up at that point, but doesn't feel good to give up when you're the pre-flop ISOer.
So this is a value bet aiming to be called by ace and king highs.
Tricky.
I think it's
Not sure.
Yeah. Feels a little bit like a block bet slash.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't really think you can turn your hand into a bluff there. You're not really going to get better hands to fold.
So the important part is that I wasn't right, but I wasn't exactly wrong either. I just can't get over this Ben Affleck Ana de Armas thing, guys. I might need a minute.
I don't get it. Do you just have like TMZ up on the side while we're working, or was it?
No, I have Google alerts for Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. Really invested in that one.
Oh my lord, what's going on here? The Jack Deuce off come in over the top of the ISO, I believe.
Hello, Toddy.
You know, we used to
Feeling
say
himself.
that when it comes time in the session that you get bored and you feel like playing Jack 2 offsuit, that meant it was time to go home. But I guess it doesn't work at a tournament.
It's not boredom. It's just the fact of the matter is everything is going their way, and they're like, well, let's put this one in the 3 betting range.
Yeah, absolutely crushing it. Aces.
Oh my God! Did you
He's
guys
like,
see
Jack
that?
Dusoff.
Rockets.
Don't do it now, Toddy. Oh, there it is again. There it is again. Yeah, I think Maria
Hot
had it right.
Toddy can't turn it off.
Too hot, too spicy. Goes for the flats. Picks up a gutter, the belly buster.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be so dirty if it comes in. But it feels like it might.
Buster. The 9's bad. That's a bad.
Oh, the 9 is the real trouble here for Hello Toddy. Oh, he's playing them so slow, the aces. You gotta bet the turn with the 9 now. Feels so bad.
Dinge Brinker.
I have a terrible feeling about this.
Does he just shove turn? He's too worried about the draws now, right? Oh, wow. See, it's
going to be a bad river for somebody.
That's a scary river. It's a scary river. But, I think SPR is way too low for him to want to fold here. But I think it's going to go check river now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Check. Dingebrinker gets some back. Still trailing around 3-1. What isn't looking quite as grim.
But now Dingebrinker is like, okay, hello, Toddy. I see you re-raising me with the 9-5.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Now he's got a little look into his limp 3-bet situation.
Queen Jack against King 5, King High out in front. Queen Jack with pretty much every reason to continue betting. King on the turn. That is bad news for Dingebrinker.
Oh, man.
Broadway for Hello Toddy.
Poor Dinge, man. This is
tough.
just... in heads up poker, like, you just can't be folding a king here, right? You can't be giving it up. Your hand is so strong, really, in the grand scheme of things here. Might be able to get away on the river, though.
Yeah, how about now?
Yeah, and you're just up against somebody who's clearly amped up the aggression tenfold since heads up play started.
Jack of hearts as well. Wow, that's an interesting size on the river here, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even have 15 million. That's crazy. You can't expect to win that much.
This is the part of the movie where he starts putting his car keys on the table. He starts pulling out his Rolex, puts the Rolex on the table.
6, 7, 8, 9.
We've all seen those.
Well, we saw one straight earlier. I don't think we could see another one. They're almost impossible. Yep, no. Trip 6s, though, for Dingy. Yeah, a lot of people in chat calling for Western rules. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Western rules are when you see people playing poker on movies or a TV show, and then they bet, and if you can't call, you lose automatically. Oh, poor Dinge hits this board super hard, almost impossible to get paid.
Yeah, I don't think Hello Toddy really has a hand that he would even consider turning into a bluff at this point either. So
Seriously, between you seeing that, Joe, and the screen name, I feel like I need to have a hot toddy with hot pockets after this. I'm very
How about a hot dog? The original Hot Pocket.
I'm embarrassed to say how much I truly, truly love Hot Pockets.
Have you ever not burned yourself on one? That's the question.
It's like
No, I have no
lava.
patience to wait. Yeah. I bite into it straight away.
This just in, Maria Ho, the latest Hot Pocket ambassador 2021.
I bite into one, burn myself, and then I'm so angry that I'll punch the person closest to me, even though it's 100% my fault. Check out this little bluff here from Hello Toddy. Dingebrinker rivered the best pair.
You know, Hello Toddy, just every spot, just going for it. Oh, I got a 10 blocker. I got a blocker to the straight. Sure,
Yeah,
why
right.
not? Who cares about the way the rest of this hand is played out?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
James Hardigan.
Dingebrinker
James
is-
Hardigan doesn't seem to know what a Hot Pocket is. What is this?
You are missing out.
You've never lived, James.
he doesn't like junk food. It would be like a vampire eating garlic. He'd just be like,
He does like junk
Artisanal
food, but
sourdough.
I feel like I remember him liking sweets quite a bit, though.
he does like desserts. Yeah, if there was a Hot Pocket full of fudge or something, he'd probably be into it. 10's holding.
That's not a bad idea.
Hot Toddies, 4, 5, 6. Not really doing much right now. King high board. Dingebrinker fires and gets a fold. Up over 6 million. Okay, we can do this. Do you guys want to do a comeback chant for Dingebrinker? Come on, Dingebrinker. You can make a comeback and win more chips than your opponent and take home the 5K of the Blowout Series. You guys got it?
Nailed it.
All right. It's close enough.
Let's go. Cat Jam in the
For DB.
Cat Jam's in the chat. Joe Stapes with this year's theme tune.
Here we go, Dinge. Try to hit a king. Bottom pair for Hello Toddy.
Oh man.
Shout out to Check Raise Flops in the chat just for the UCSD nod.
Go Banana Slugs. 9 on the river. Once again, the best hand for Dingebrinker. And facing a 2/3 pot bet. You can't fold this, right? You can't fold this.
It's not that dissimilar from the hand we just saw. So I think probably we'll find the hero. It's quite a strong combo here on this river. Oh,
Oh.
value raise. Oh my lord.
Dingebrinker has had enough.
Back up over 6 million.
Oh.
Aces versus ace 10. Oh, baby. What a spot for Dingebrinker to double up.
Oh man.
Hot Toddy. Oh,
no,
a 2
not
club
like this.
flop, of course.
Not like this.
Yeah.
Not like
No,
this.
not like this.
Not-
Here
not
we
like
go.
I think even Hello Toddy wouldn't want it to go down like this.
Look at the SPR. There's no way out for ace 10 of clubs. He's got to put the pressure on if there's a C-bet here. You've just got so much fold equity. Probably not against aces, though.
No, I don't think so. There's the raise. That's the all-in to call. It is called. Fades the turn, but it's a club on the river. GG. Dingebrinker dispatched in second place. Not really much of a chance there. Hot Toddy ran hotter than a Hot Toddy in the very short heads-up match. Dingebrinker cashing for 167K. Hello Toddy taking home the big purse, $219,546. And now to take us home in his big purse is your mama, James Hardigan.
Two things I think are worth drawing attention to. First was Lex's 4th place finish and his near 100k score. The other is the theme of this final table seemed to be aces cracked. It happened to Connor Beresford, it happened to Sam Greenwood, and it happened to Dingebrinker on the final hand of this event. Maria, you got to see an entire final table through from start to finish. Nick, you got to do the latter end. We always love to have you around for the short-handed stuff. Thank you both, guys. Yes. Joe, we have got one more day of the Blowout Series to go. We've got one more stream to bring this thing home, and it is a phenomenal event, which we're going to be covering tomorrow. It is the 1K Big Blowout. 571 remain right now. Tomorrow there will be 9 playing for a first prize of nearly $1 million. Total prize pool in this event of nearly $7 million. This will draw a line under the Blowout Series. Make sure you're with us tomorrow. That's Tuesday, January 19th. From 1:30 Eastern, 6:30 GMT, 7:30 Central European Time. But for now, from Joe Stapleton, Maria Ho, Nick Walsh, and me, James Hartigan, it is good night from the PokerStars Arena.